So I have a special treat for you guys today. So I am over at my friend Adrian's house, and she has lots of cool animals that we're gonna get to take a look at today. So I will turn it over to her.
Hey everybody, what I have here is called a Eurymastix ocellata. This is a species of lizard that is definitely native to the desert. They come from areas like the Sudan, Kuwait, often found in Egypt also. Lots of different types. This particular one is the ocellata. That's her type. She's small. Being a female, she doesn't have bright blues and greens like the male counterparts do, but she has this beautiful spotted pattern. Her name is Throttle, and she's trying to get away, but I'm not gonna let her. If you notice, she has almost a turtle-shaped head, which is awesome. These guys are strictly herbivores, and they eat a variety of greens, weeds, flowers, cactus from the desert, but no animal protein. They don't eat insects naturally, not normally, and that's their diet. If you look at her tail, which I'll get her to show, her tail is very spiky, and this is her weapon. She'll use this like a club, and she could swing it at me if she was really trying to get away, or if I was a threat to her, which I'm not. It's very spiky. It also makes it so she can't be pulled out of her home very easily by a predator. She has a very soft skin, which Miss Erickson is willing to touch and tell you guys what it feels like.
Oh yeah, she feels like if you have like tights or pantyhose, but they're thicker, like a rougher kind of pantyhose.
Feel her tail.
Oh goodness, yeah, that's kind of scary.
Go the other direction.
Oh yeah, no.
Can't do that. So her name is Throttle. She is approximately maybe 2 to 3 years old. She's not as happy to be out and as social as my other animals, but I wanted to show her first because she's so unique, and she's the only one here like her. Okay, this is a bearded dragon, which some of you might be familiar with. They're pretty common as pets. They are found natively in Australia. They run around that area all over the place. But here in the United States, they're very common to have as pets and in your home. This one's name is Riot. She is a female. She's about 6 years old. And her color, this bright orange color that you see, is probably not something you'd find very commonly in Australia in the wild, because it makes her an easy target for predators. And any predator would be birds, snakes, larger lizards, anything that basically could chase her down and pick her up in their mouths, she could be prey to. But as far as her diet goes, she'll also eat small insects, smaller lizards if she were to come across those in nature. They also do like lots of greens and weeds. She's so squirmy right now. Any better? So this is a desert animal. They have a long lifespan like a dog. They can live up to 15 years in captivity, sometimes closer to 20 if they're really healthy and well cared for. And there's actually 9 different species of this type of animal, and she's the largest of that 9. She's watching her water, I think. Okay, this is Ratchet. He's another of our big male bearded dragons. He is the largest that I have here. What I wanted to tell you guys about this particular animal is because they live in the desert and they live down on the ground, that's known as terrestrial. If you live down on the ground and you dig burrows in the ground and you're not one that climbs up high like in the trees or anything, that's called terrestrial. And this is an animal that sleeps during the nighttime and is awake during the day like we are. That's known as diurnal. Ratchet here is about 3 to 4 years old. I think he's probably closer to 4 years old. And he is a big boy. He's a full 2 feet in length, which is common for this species and at his age. But as you can see, he's a very nice boy. And I know Caitlin wants to hold him. Miss Erickson wants to hold him. I'm just gonna put him right on you. Yeah, he'll just sit there. That's not scary, right?
No. You just better not move.
But what does he feel like when you feel his spikes?
Very, spiky, very hard.
Part of their
Very
protection
spiky.
is actually that skin. He's got real spiky skin, and if you see these horns and these spikes on his head and around his face, that's part of his protection. So if he was going to be hunted by another animal, he could kind of inflate his body and puff up and try to look really big, and those spikes would be really sharp and prevent from being eaten. But because he's calm and he's being nice right now, those spikes are very flexible. See, this doesn't hurt me when I pet him. They move. He's not trying to hurt anybody. So he's nice and calm and
He's
has
just
no
hanging
reason.
out.
Yeah,
We're best buds.
he's just a good boy.
Yeah.
And he goes everywhere with me, actually. I take him to schools to visit kids like you in all grades and ages, and he goes all the time, and he's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna feed him a couple of his favorite meal. These are some little dubia roaches that he loves, and they're white because they're coated in a calcium vitamin powder. Like you take your vitamins every day, so does Ratchet. So he can take it. Oh, he sees the reflection. There you go.
It's crunching.
That's nice and crunchy.
Delicious.
Gross. Now we'll see if he might want to chase one for us. He sees it in the reflection. Turn around, buddy. That glass is messing him up. Ooh, that's good stuff. If your favorite food is a hamburger, this is the hamburger of bugs. Oh, that didn't work, did it? That's a trick.
Oh my goodness.
Quick cleanup if you ever have anything running around your house. Just have a dragon. He'll take care of it for you.
Oh my goodness. Look how quick he moves. He's a hungry guy.
All right, last bug, and we'll see if maybe he'll chase it for us all the way across the tank.
He doesn't know where it
Go
went.
ahead, he'll see you. They have
Oh, I
pretty,
heard a crunch.
they've got pretty good eyesight too, so he can see movement. Kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Jurassic Park, and they talk about the T-Rex not being able to see you if you don't move. Their eyesight is similar to that. Movement catches their eye much more than a still figure. So living, moving food is very much an attractant to them.
Oh my goodness.
So he is definitely showing off right now because he sees Riot right there. And this is the way the boys show off for the girls. He's gonna start bobbing, and he'll do some push-ups. Jocelyn, if you'll back up just a little bit for me. Give a little space between them. Now he's trying to show her how tough he is and how big he is. And one of the reasons they're called a bearded dragon is because that underneath their chin, that flap right there is called their beard. And if he's really trying to show off, or if he feels threatened by another lizard or another larger animal, that beard will turn really dark black, and he's trying to show off and be threatening to it. He's showing off for Frodo. So this is one of their displays.
Is his beard out? I can't
really.
see. Oh.
No.
Oh.
And sometimes it doesn't matter if it's a lizard or another animal. Sometimes he does that when the vacuum's going. This is another one of our dragons. This is Rogue. She's another female bearded dragon, just different colors and different markings. And as you can see, she is very dark at the moment. You see all this dark scales here? Dragons have a really cool, awesome ability to change their color just a little bit. Not crazy like a chameleon when you think of a chameleon going colors of the rainbow. But they can change their color to determine mood or temperature. And so right now with her dark, dark scales, it might mean that she's a little nervous. She was just brought out of her enclosure. But so she's not cold. I don't see her cold. And if Miss Erickson will feel her, she can tell you she's more spiky than the other two dragons we brought out. And it's just her. It's nothing. She's the same type of lizard. She's the same Same skin type. There's 3 different types of bearded dragons, and this is called a normal because they're all full of spikes and pokes all over. But she's just different than everybody. She's got these awesome orange racing stripes, but I want to show you how they can change colors. So we'll be right back.
So this is my friend Rhys, and he is a 3rd grader from the Peoria district, and he's gonna tell you about his dragon.
My dragon's name is Christina. I call her Chris for short. She was our very first clutch from one of our very first baby dragons.
Can you tell them what a clutch is?
A clutch is a group of eggs that a mother will lay. And then I've had her for 2 years, and we like to name our clutches after movies, and sometimes it's other stuff. And she was from the Hobbit clutch. So, and her name was Feely, I think. And
She goes to school and talks to other grades.
my mom will go to schools, and one time she went to a memory care center, and she will take Chris every now and then to
Just to different groups and talk to different people.
to talk to people and just learn and have the other people learn about them.
So this is Revenant. He's a male, about 2.5, maybe 3 years old. We've had him for a year and a half or so. And you can see his beard. Let's see if I can get him to look up a little bit.
Wait, I have a good shot of it.
And it's very black. All right, and that's how they get their bearded dragon name, because they can change that. And he's a very red. If you look, we'll get the light right. He's very red otherwise, but he can show that black off. And this guy's really cool because he has very black eyes. That is all, they're black as night.
He's the only one here like that.
He is the only one like that. And very red.
Okay, so this is a different type of reptile that I have. Everybody I've shown you so far has been a desert animal. This is called a New Caledonia Eyelash Crested Gecko, and this is a tropical animal. It's another type of lizard. It's surprising to me how many people don't associate a gecko as being a lizard, but it is. And his name is Sai. He is about 3 years old now, and as you can see, he's very inquisitive. He's walking around, he's licking surfaces. That's just another way that he checks out his environment and sees what he has around him. And if you notice those little spikes above his eyes, that's what gives him the name of the eyelash crested gecko. This particular lizard does not have eyelids, so he cannot close his eyes. If he gets dust or dirt in his eyes, he can't blink it away. If his eyes dry out, he can't close his eyes to moisten it, so he uses that tongue, and he'll actually lick his own eyeball to keep it clean and keep it moist so it doesn't dry out. And I think that's one of the most fascinating things about this particular lizard.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Super cool. And their feet, if you notice their feet,
I love their feet.
they have the coolest feet. They do have little tiny claws in there, but they can use these feet to climb smooth surfaces like the glass. His tail is what we call a prehensile tail, like you would see on a monkey. He can use it to hang on to things, hang on to branches so he doesn't fall out of the tree. That's another thing, living high up in the trees, that's called arboreal. And they live way up high. Doesn't mean they won't come down to the bottom of the jungle floor, the tropical floor, but typically they like to stay up high where they feel safe. As you can see with his soft skin, they don't have a protection like the dragons do to keep predators from harming them. He's got very delicate skin, and so his best defense is to run away and be fast. They can leap, kind of like a sugar glider, if you guys are familiar with that, but they like to jump. He's gonna lick his eyeballs, look in his face.
Oh,
Do that again.
But he always has a beautiful smile all the time. He's gonna get the other one.
he
maybe.
licked all over his eyeball.
Yeah, he says, "Oh, why? I'm gonna clean the windows. Where are you gonna go?" This is a nocturnal animal, so he's awake during the nighttime and asleep during the day. Sai is very good about coming out when I ask him to. So he's awake for us right now to do this video. And he goes to school with me, and he likes to see kids like you too. He's always been very good when he's out. These guys come in lots of different colors. In the wild, in nature, you probably see this color you see, but in captivity, we can kind of control their genetics. We can control their genetics a little bit, and you can get some really crazy colors. I've seen bright red and orange. I've seen white. I've seen brindle colored geckos. I've seen some amazing looking animals. It's really cool what variety they can come up with. And Sai kind of has a little green tint, so he can hide where he is. Are you going to the bathroom? I think so. Yep. Thanks, buddy. These guys are fruit eaters in nature, so in the wild he would find rotting fruit that's kind of past its prime, and he would take advantage of that. They will eat small insects, but here at home he eats mostly a fruit diet, and they get their water from the plants and leaves around them because they live in a rainforest, so they've got water and rain all the time around them. They don't like high temperatures like the dragons do because they're not a desert animal. So he's happy to be here in his natural environment. He's got lots of live plants all around, misting system that gives him lots of fresh water. As you can see, he's drinking from the leaf right now. And he's just, and when they talk to each other, they kind of sound like little ducks. They can quack. It's kind of funny. And he's as big as they get. They don't get, that's not a real big lizard. 7 to 9 inches is full grown. And if you're familiar with lizards losing their tail, I'm sure you guys have heard of that. Lots of lizards will drop their tail if they're under threat from another animal, and that tail will twitch and move to serve as a distraction so the animal can get away. These geckos can do that too, but this is the only species I know of that cannot regenerate their tail once they lose it. If they do lose their tail, it doesn't change their life. They can go on living just the same normal happy life, but they'll never have that tail again. This is Elvira. She's the baby, she's the offspring of Sai, who I just showed you. Sai and Floki, who are the mom and dad. So Elvira is the exact same type of gecko, but she's missing her tail, like I talked about how they can't regenerate and regrow that tail. So she doesn't have it, but it doesn't matter. She can still get around just fine. But in the gecko world, they call that frog butt, because it looks like a little frog butt. You can see she's a lot more patterned than her dad, Sai, is. She's got a lot more coloration going on, and all those black spots on her is just another one of the variation of patterns you can get with these guys. She might show us how she jumps. Whoop, she didn't make it. Sometimes they're clumsy. She's over a year old, but she's still very small. It's just the way different ones grow. I think she's actually about to shed, so her feet aren't quite as sticky as they might be. And she's gonna, she's a little spider geck. Sticks to everything. So you can see different sizes. Over a year old, she's still pretty small, but she's a lot bigger than some of the other babies I'm gonna show you. Look at those eyes. When the lights go out, that pupil, you can just see that real thin black line in her eye right now. Because the lights are so bright, that pupil's shut down and closed. When the lights go out, being a nocturnal animal, that pupil widens out and fills almost her entire eye. So all you see is this black eye looking at you. And I think they look like little velociraptors. Little sticky feet. Oh, you sneaky. I was like, okay, go ahead, Jess. This is another one of our babies. This is Sally. She hatched out with another baby that we call Jack. But these guys only hatched in December, just before Christmas. So they're only 6 months old at this point. And you can see how much smaller Sally is than Elvira that we just had out. And even though they're full siblings, they've got different colors and different patterns. It's just the way it goes with these guys. Very young one, actually moving very nice job, Miss Erickson. I'll get, you want to get her? Yeah. They like to go up high because they're arboreal, right? They want to go up high. So Miss Erickson was just being a tree for Sally. Doink. That's the leaping I was telling you about. I love it when they leap. See if I can get her to blink. And these guys can change their color and pattern too. They'll get real dark, and they'll get real pale if they're stressed out, or if it's too hot, or if they're about to shed. You can really see a difference in their color. Sally is right now what we call fired up. She's got a nice contrast of darks and lights, and that's a happy gecko.
Ew.
Oh,
Alright.
see, look how, that's the same one we had out earlier. Look at how pale.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
So Adrian, how old are these?
These guys are only a month old. And there's 3 in here, but I want to pull one out so we can see how big a size difference we've got. Here's who I'm after. These 2 are probably about to shed. If you get right up on top, Jessica. This one over here, his name is Booth. They've got a little bit of a messy tank, but that's okay. They're both pale in color, but that doesn't mean they won't brighten up and show lots of variation and contrast, just like Sally and Elvira did. But they might also be about to shed, and that's
Booth
why
has the black dots too.
Booth is a patternless Dalmatian. And Bones and Sweets. Look how calm that was. There you go. All right. Put your finger out and I'll let you hold this little teeniest baby. Aww. And they hatch out looking just like miniature versions of mom and dad. They don't go through a period where they look like a different type of animal. They're just little tiny versions of the adults. And they have a really long lifespan too. These guys can live up to 20 years if they're nice and healthy and safe and don't have any problems.
I hardly feel anything crawling. He's so small.
Right, they're so lightweight. What does their skin feel like? What would you describe it as?
Like velvet almost.
They're not slimy.
No.
They're not cold.
Super soft. Hi,
And those
buddy.
spikes, what we call the crest, all the spikes on them are really soft.
Go this way.
Just neat little babies.
Oh, thank you for that kiss.
Okay.
Who is that, Miss Erickson?
This is Merlot.
She's a desert tortoise. They are found in lots of desert areas, but Arizona is one of their native habitats. So that's a North American animal. They can also be found. That's Whiskey showing you her famous dead cockroach pose. She has expired almost. Whiskey. But Merlot is not, she's not a wild tortoise. This is actually one who hatched in 1952. And if any of you awesome mathematicians can do your math, if it's the year 2020 right now, and she hatched in 1952, if you know the answer to how old Merlot is, I want you to send your answer to Miss Erickson, and that'll be a fun little contest to see who can get the right answer. But they can be found in nature, and I will tell you right now that if you ever come across one in the wild, if you see one crossing the road or anything like that, you're actually not allowed to pick it up and take it home to be your pet. As cool as that would be, it's not a legal thing to do. But she is not a wild pet who was taken from her home. She's always lived with people. And
So what does she eat?
these guys are vegetarian only. So out in nature, they'll eat dried weeds, come across some cactus, flowers, grasses, anything that you would find in the desert. Here in my house in the backyard, she eats the grass and she eats weeds. She also comes inside and enjoys anything that the dragons are offered for greens. But no bugs, no meat, nothing like that. Just vegetarian only.
And she just woke up recently, right?
Yes. So bears and skunks, they do something called hibernate. Everybody knows what hibernation is. They go to sleep for the winter and they wake up in the spring. Tortoises and other animals like her do something similar, but because this is not a mammal, we call it something different, and we call it brumating. So this is an animal that goes to sleep. No, Whiskey, that's not yours. She goes to sleep in the fall and winter, and she stays asleep all the way until about mid-March. And here, because she's my pet and she's my responsibility, to keep her safe, I put her in a special box, and she actually goes into my closet for many, many months. and she doesn't go to the bathroom, and she doesn't have anything to eat or drink during the whole time, and she's okay. This animal can actually go for a full year without having water if she had to. If it was a survival necessity, an emergency situation, she could survive without a drink of water for a full year if she was really healthy to begin with. But it wouldn't be a good thing to have that happen, but it's possible. It's pretty amazing. And at her age, you know, even though she's kind of an old lady, they can live a long, long time. They can live up to 100 years if they're well cared for and they have a healthy diet. There's no reason they can't have a really long lifespan. And if any of you are wanting to call this a turtle, it's not a turtle. This is a tortoise. Miss Erickson and I were talking earlier about the difference between turtles and tortoises. And what I told her was, a turtle swims and a tortoise sinks. This is not an animal you could take to a pond and let go. If you did that, she would sink like a stone to the bottom of the pond, and she would not be able to get out. They don't swim. They don't have feet meant for that. If you look at her feet, she's got long claws, and that's for digging. They dig deep burrows underneath the ground to stay cool, keep themselves safe. Even though it's a desert reptile, they can't live out in the hottest part of the summer and in the sun all the time. They still need to have time to cool down and regulate their temperature so they don't overheat. And underground is a great place to do that. Okay, some of our last non-furry animals I want to show you is two of our frogs. These are two different types of tree frogs. They are from a rainforest area, so they like moist environments with lots of plants and everything. This one here, you can see, he is called a Suriname clown tree frog. And if you notice his pattern, he's colored kind of like Nemo the clownfish. And he's a clown frog. Normally he'll turn kind of an orange color, even yellow like that leaf. So they can change their color to reflect their environment a little bit. And these guys are bug eaters for sure, like most frogs you're familiar with. And I have one other frog I'm gonna let Rhys get out for you. What Rhys is getting right now is called a tiger leg monkey tree frog, and you will see exactly why he's called a tiger leg. And he's called a monkey tree frog because he doesn't typically hop. They like to climb when they move around. He's kind of a brown-green kind of color. Let's get him into or come closer into the tank so we can see his light better.
I like his underbelly.
His stripes.
Yeah.
When he opens his legs, he'll show you.
Oh my goodness.
That's the tiger leg. And they don't jump and hop like most frogs. He climbs. That's the monkey in his name. So he'll climb up to tall trees, tall branches. He can stretch and reach really well. And he's so cool. Something I learned about this particular frog, they can secrete a waxy substance that they spread all over themselves, kind of like a lotion. The reason they do that is so they can tolerate dry, if there's drought, or if there's a lack in rain or anything, they can tolerate that dry weather. So it protects their skin. He's so cool. This guy's name is Caspian. We named him Caspian because we learned that there was a Caspian tiger at one point, and we wanted to give him a tiger kind of name.
Are you gonna hold him?
You've got to. Can you hand him to her? Doesn't he feel neat?
Oh yeah, he
Now he
does.
can jump, so
But he typically likes to climb. Just kind of slow, and he's
he looks so different when he's huddled up and then when he's all stretched out.
He looks
It's like
small.
a completely different animal.
And he's just got such long limbs, you don't even realize it. You can show us how you do it. If you put him right here, he'll climb back into his house probably. See, in his color, you can see that difference, that variation right here.
Yeah.
That green, he can kind of change. He says, I'm gonna go back to sleep. He's nocturnal too, like the geckos, so that's his little sleeping spot.
So these are their fur babies. These are some of my favorite animals of the house. And this is Mona and Whiskey, and they are both bull mastiffs. And Mona here is 7, and Whiskey is 3. Hi. And they're both rescue dogs. And they're super, super sweet. Very slow moving, but very fun to play with, huh?
And they love everybody.
Whiskey, you want to show them how you shake? Shake?
Good girl. Oh, Dad's a good girl.
Whiskey, good girl.
Oh, yeah.
She does look like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, thank you. She's a good girl.
And Frodo's here for a visit.
Oh, yeah. Zoe's at home taking a nap.